Hi, I'm Ann Holmes with No Sewing Into Quilted. This is step 8 of our Happy in the Mountains. We're on the home stretch now. We're finishing the border around the center part of our quilt. And we're working on the stems and the berries and the leaves. And you put the stems down first. You see that the leaves will be on top. So all these little tiny stems, you have to clip anything that's an inside curve. Just do a few clips just to the paper, and there's an inside curve on this side as well. So these little stems or twigs go down first before the leaves or the berries. So just do one side at a time, because if you tried to glue both sides or at a time, your fingers would get so sticky. So with your paper on top, just turn it back, just press. When you have that nice, finger press it to keep it nice and crisp. Now we'll glue the second side. Just make that fabric match the paper. You may hear birds in the background. We're working with our patio door open today. It's so nice to hear the sounds of nature while we're working. So now that we've turned both sides, now we can glue the whole thing, and using those registration marks, place it. Scoot that up, and if you need to, you can slide your stiletto in there so that you're not gluing the paper down there, just by sliding it under there. And then this will be the second half of that stem. We will have to turn that edge, but you can see how we proceed. We put the twigs or little branches down first, and now there are a few methods to do the berries. My hands are so big, little tiny circles. I have a hard time sometimes turning it with the paper on the top. I've used lots of things like price stickers, or these little paper savers, these little rings to make really small berries. And when I do that, I put the paper on the inside, stick that to the inside or the wrong side of the fabric. This is the only time I ever do that. I just leave that paper in the pattern, but this is ironed to the wrong side of the paper. And then I'm generous with the glue in an outward motion. This just makes it easier for me with my big hands to turn this. So I just kind of pinch it a little bit at a time, just right on the edge of the paper. So you want lots of glue there, so when you press it back, it sticks. It forms a little pleat. And I've washed quilts with these little paper pieces in the quilt, and it's just fine. So I'm just working myself around the edge, just barely pinching that back. And then I turn it over to finger press. And if I have any jagged little edges, I have a few little points here. I mean, this is nature. Everything's aren't just perfectly round. But anyway, you can manipulate those little tucks with your sewer stiletto to help get a nicer edge. So that's the way I do berries. Rachel will demonstrate another way.
The way I do it is to put the freezer paper on the right side of the fabric, just like we've done with all of our other pieces. I've already clipped the edges of this, not all the way to the paper because we don't want it to fray out, but just enough that it gives me a little bit of movement. And then I turn it just like I would a normal piece. So use your glue stick, and I glue all the way around the edges. And then start placing it down. And you want to follow along the paper as close as possible. And then I take it to where it goes, match the numbers. Our registration marks are really helpful, especially with these round pieces. Going on top of the stems. I'm use my sewer's stiletto to go ahead and pull up some of the pieces around the edge. And then we can go ahead and reveal everything that isn't touching. So end up with nice clean edges. So as quilters, we all love to see our fabric. And if you're not going to save your pattern pieces, you're not going to reuse them, then you can tear the pattern pieces. So I still have this number 44 leaf and number 46 leaf, but I want to see what these pieces look like. So, I can go ahead first off and remove this leaf because it's already done. And this leaf is everything around it has been placed. But this number 40, because I still have 44 to put down, I want to keep the edge of this. So what I can do is rip the paper. And generally when I rip the paper, I try and keep the registration marks so I can see my fabric. But then I still have the indicators to be able to put down number 44.